country do you think has the most entrepreneurial women? I was looking into some of these statistics when getting ready for the show, and I am a big fan of reading a lot around what the Rose Review um, release and develop, all their statistics and things like that. So this is the Rose Review, and I've got a document here of the Rose Review Female Entrepreneurship. And I was looking at how many entrepreneurial women there are in the UK, which then led me to discover where the highest percentage of entrepreneurial women are. And I found that quite interesting, and I thought I'd share that with you today. Now, what I also found interesting, and I'm happy to be corrected by anybody who has better research than I do, is that when I'm researching, like I love Googling something, okay? I love typing it into Google and getting all my answers from there as best as I can. But what I found really interesting is that when I was typing in things like, how many female founders are there in the UK today? The latest news and the articles that have latest, the latest stuff that I could find and that are published are from 2022. And it really confuses me why there isn't like the most up to date. So if anyone's got anything really up to date, that would be fantastic, because this particular entrepreneurship report that I've been reading, and it's like 125 pages, isn't actually dated. There's dates ranging from 2019, 2015. There isn't like a specific timestamp. So that's just my disclaimer when I share these statistics, is that these things have a tendency of fluctuating, and so it might not be exactly accurate at this moment in time, but I'm going to go for it. So my question again to you, for you money honeys tuning in today, welcome back to the Money Honey. I'm Rosalia Lazzarettilli, your founder of the podcast. I'm here to empower women to speak up, take up space, and use their voice for a bigger impact in the industry. So whether you are in finance, in business, in property, in construction, if you feel like you belong to a predominantly male trade industry, then this is the podcast for you. Whether you're a lawyer or an accountant, this is the place where we are telling female stories, female founders, women's stories of the so-called male industries, to really highlight and showcase just how much talent and magic is happening in the industry. There's a lot of women who perhaps hold back from sharing their story and speaking, and they're like, I don't want to brag, I don't want to speak about myself. But this is a safe space to come along and actually listen to people in your industry, or adjacent industries that you want to learn from, or actually come on the show to tell the story yourself. So how many women, or what country do we have the most entrepreneurial women? And this is what I read. Fewer UK women choose to become entrepreneurs in comparison to their peer countries. Only 6% of UK women run their own businesses, compared to, you ready? 15% of women in Canada, almost 11% of women in the US, and over 9% of women in Australia and the Netherlands. So, people listening to this, whether that 6% has gone up to 9 now or back down to 5, the reality is that in the UK, in comparison to some of the best, in comparison to the peer countries that we as a nation kind of transact with, or maybe you've traveled to these places, maybe you've got relatives, we're not doing so good. We're quite low. We're quite low in that statistic. Again, I don't know how far this has grown, but I'm still quite shocked, if you are too, that there are only 15% of women in Canada. Like, surely that can't be right. Please, if you're listening to this show, correct me, put me in my place, and kindly update me on exactly what is the true statistic. Because this goes on to say, almost at every stage, women are likely to pursue entrepreneurship. Again, stage, I don't know what that's relation to, obviously, for this report, but it says just 8.6% of all women surveyed said they plan to start a business in the next 3 years, compared to 14.3% of men. So again, that statistic, let's just use this as an example. When the Rose Review surveyed men and women about what their intentions were in starting a business over the next 3 years, 8.6% of women said that they plan to start a business, in comparison to 14.3% of those who were men. And then perceived bias within the UK venture finance community is a concern. That's another statement. Only 13% of senior people on UK investment teams are women, and almost half, 48%, of investment teams have no women at all. Less than 1% of UK venture funding goes to all female teams, and just 4% of deals. So these numbers are clearly staggering. And entrepreneurship, is it on a decline? Is it on an incline? Are we going up? Are we going down? Are we producing more entrepreneurs in the UK and worldwide? Or are we producing less? But let alone male and female, like even just like without the male and female discussion, are we allowing entrepreneurs to thrive? And is there a place for that? Now, my opinion, I don't believe that as a country, I can't speak for other countries, but I don't believe as a country we are producing entrepreneurs, because we are very backwards in the school system. So I do a lot of volunteering. Can't get my words out today. Maybe I should go back to school and relearn my grammar. But I do a lot of volunteering in schools where I get to speak to our next generation. Like, I can see them. And obviously every generation is different, or every school is different depending on the location. So I can only speak for the school that I volunteer in. So I'm not saying I speak on behalf of all students of the UK, but particularly in this school, which is a very well-known school. It's very prestigious. You know, it's got it's not a private school, but you know, it's very well thought of, and they do really well. But there is no like money education. There's no, they might have a business class, but the business class is not something that is about entrepreneurship. It's more about understanding, like, you know, cash flow, forecasting, you know, profit and loss and things like that. So I go into schools to try and make my impact and to add my perspective on what it means to start a business, you know, as a woman, and also as someone who has been down the employee route and then later started a business. So that's my, you know, hopefully the Rose Review, it won't change overnight just with my impact. It's a cumulative impact. It's everyone's effort in, and that's why we call what we call at Manuka Media the positive pollination effect, right? Positive pollination is what we're all about. So welcome back to the show. Today you're going to be hearing from someone who loves to talk about money and loves to get you comfortable with talking about money, and wants to put money on the table, in your pocket, in your hands, on your brain, wants you to feel that money, because she has been through some pretty intense adventure herself. She's notified us that during her 20s, she landed herself in over £27,000 worth of credit card debt. I want to know what kind of lifestyle she was having. I want to know what she was doing with that money. I'm going to be here to interview where the hell that £27,000 of credit card went. But no, in all seriousness, it's not a laughing matter. She's come back fighting stronger, more powerful. She's got a clear path. She's got her goals, and she helps women. I believe it's just women, but she's going to correct me if it's not. But she certainly is here to talk about how women, both with personal and business finance, can get comfortable with money, get away from that sticky stigma around, you know, talking about money. And because, you know, if you're not clear about it, if you don't understand your money, what are you going to do with it? Like, you're either trying to earn it or spend it or grow it, invest it. Like, you need to know what you're doing with it, and you need to be able to talk about it. So please note that this could be a triggering, you know, it could be a triggering episode for you. You know, if this is something you're battling with at the moment, like being in debt, or, you know, you're battling with some financial concerns right now, this could maybe instigate some of your own personal concerns and stories. But please note that this is a safe space. And also, let's have respect for my guest who's coming on the show, is actually probably going to be sharing some vulnerable stories about herself and about her concerns from the past and how she's overcome them. So this is a safe space for people to come and talk about that, because positive pollination, right? She's using her story to make a bigger impact. So without further ado, I would like to welcome you, the founder and CEO of Get Comfy with Money, Lia Loewenthal.
Hello. So nice to see you, to be here, Rosalia. Thanks for having me. And what a
My
lovely intro.
pleasure. Thank you. Yes, it's a long one. It's a long one, but I really wanted to set the scene for you, and I really wanted to help guests kind of settle into their seats. And if you are settled in and you're feeling comfortable, get up. This is an uncomfortable show. Do not sit comfortable. This is not about staying in your comfort zone. Lia, you're about to tell us all how we can get comfy
Yes,
with money, but I imagine we need to get uncomfy first. So give us an intro. What do you do and who are you?
I love that. Well, to start with, I'm actually standing already. I love a
Ah,
standing
love it. Yes.
with that energy. So yeah, as you say, I love to talk everything about money. So for me, if we can become more comfortable, that's the goal. And actually that goal could mean something so different to so many people. So my specific industry, or where I target, is women, as you said. So I primarily do work with women who are business owners or hoping to become business owners. They ordinarily run service-based businesses, or they're entrepreneurs, and they are looking to either repair their relationship with money or develop a better one and understand it so that they can grow more, have more comfortable conversations about it, and essentially build a life and a business that's thriving. So in a nutshell, you did ace it. You covered it.
Ah, awesome. Good. No, I've been following you on social media, and I read your bio with so much interest, and yeah, I couldn't wait to interview on the show. And I love the fact that, that's why I've called the show the Money Honey, and it's about really putting money at the heart of our businesses and our conversations, because it is about well-being. But yeah, without money you can't have well-being. It is about flexibility, but without money you can't have flexibility. So really it's so important to really take away that stigma around money and get comfortable with talking about it. So tell us, how are you, what's your background like? How, talk to me about how you went from being in debt to where you are today. Tell me that story.
Yes. Oh, that's a big journey.
It is a
So
big journey, and thank
yeah.
you so much for sharing it. Like, I appreciate that you have to dive deep into maybe some pasts, and yeah, but thank you.
It's a good one though, because I feel an empowering part of my journey to be able to really tap into some of the darker, difficult places that I had to go through to get where I am now. And in all, actually, my relationship with debt and money has dramatically changed. So we're kind of talking about a 10-year scope here, because I'm 37 now, and it was kind of early to mid 20s that started to get a bit sticky. So I think I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and I did start in corporate. I was working in finance and investments in Australia. It's interesting you mentioning about the entrepreneurial spirit in Australia being higher. So I'm like, there's something there. And I read 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I'm not sure if you've read it. Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah,
That I
yeah.
would say was the moment where I went, I can do things differently. So I went on a bit of a journey to try and find what I wanted it to be that I was doing, that was going to be my own business. And I explored lots of different options. And in the end, I settled on yoga mats, of all things. So I created round and square yoga mats. I got a whole bunch, about 1,000, produced in China and sent to Australia, where I was at the time. And I had this goal to, become this yoga mogul, I guess. And so that's where the debt started. So I took out a personal loan to fund this business. And so it wasn't actually all just fun and play. There was a few holidays, but that wasn't really where the debt came from. It was through just deciding I was going to start a business. So I jumped headfirst in, and I realized actually that the main element that was missing was passion. So I had no kind of connection, association. I loved doing yoga, but I didn't have any zest for the industry. So I didn't find myself able to go out and promote my products and sell them. So I had an online store and I sold a few, but it wasn't anywhere near the number to try and kind of turn around what I'd created in debt. So I decided, a difficult decision, to just completely just stop. So I got rid of all the stock and just stopped that business completely, and saw it as a bit of a write-off, and went, all right, I've got to start again. And so from there, I was a bit more conservative with my choices as far as what I wanted to do. And I started to build up my own skills in the music industry. So actually my clients, the main people I used to work with to begin with, were musicians, were creatives, were athletes. I used to work with public speakers, anyone who had some type of live input or event. So they were my main clients, and I was helping them with project management and sorting out the business side. I'd noticed that they were so talented and so good at what they did, but they didn't really like the money side or the business side of their business. So that would often be kind of left by the wayside while they were working on other things. So I'd kind of trail around and pick up the pieces and help them build things. So I kind of learned on the job a lot of the skills that I now kind of use as part of my main work. And over time, I realized that actually I really loved the money and I loved the business side. To me, it wasn't just about the craft and what you do well. It was actually the joy you could have from being connected to those sides and being really comfortable and really good with those sides. So when COVID hit, and I know this is a pivotal point for so many people, so many businesses, I was in Chile, I was traveling, and literally overnight, all my client work just dropped because they were all in live events. So they had no work. So they had no work to give to me. So I was like, great, this is a time for a pivot. And actually it was a very positive one for me. So I moved back to Australia and I spent 6 months there, and I had zero work. And it was probably the first time in my career that I'd had absolutely nothing to do. And weirdly, I felt so free. I had no money, no income coming in, but there was this freedom that came with it I was very lucky, very privileged to have my brother say, come and sleep in my spare room. So I had a space to sleep, and I was like, all right, I've got nothing to do with my time. So let's go. So that's when Get Comfy with Money was born, because I was able to go, all right, I want to 100% focus on this. I want to build something. I want to support others, and I want to become more financially resilient myself. So I'm not so dependent on other people, whether they have work or not. So it was kind of a combination of things. And it's something I've been talking about for years. My mum's actually the one who inspired me to go into this area. She has always loved personal finance. She started women's groups in her local area where she would help support older women who were all kind of either divorced or kids had grown up and they were a bit stagnant and stuck with their life and their finances. So she started to bring together local groups and help women with their money. And I was like, this is a great idea. This needs to exist. So I wondered if it could happen on a different scale or with different places. And so through that journey of having built my own business and having it collapse and then watching others build theirs, I found that was the unique skill set that I wanted to hone in on, was helping people who were business owners as well as handling their personal finance, because that's another element, isn't it? Like, we're adding in not just what you do to build your own money and buy a house and like secure your investments or whatever for your own personal circumstance, but then you're bringing in this whole new entity to being. So yeah, that's kind of a short, slightly longer or short version of a summary of my last 10, 12 years.
Love it. And I stand corrected that your debt was not due to being lavish in your lifestyle and overspending, but actually one to be quite proud of, which I'm sure you have maybe reframed yourself. But the way I see that is you took a massive risk in your 20s. Okay, listen up, people. In your 20s, Lia, we are at a similar age. Okay, so we're both millennials, but like true millennials. Okay, not like on the Gen Z border. Yeah. Like, we are true, like at the heart of the millennials. And the reason I say that is because today I spend a lot of time with Gen Zs without even knowing. Like, I'm at property events or business events, and like there's 20 somethings that are like, yeah, I got a portfolio, blah blah blah. I'm like, sorry, when were you born? Like, how are you doing this at such a young age? Because I thought our generation was the one that like grew up too fast, and we were like trying to learn from like Gen X and Gen Y as well, XY.
And then baby boomers.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so going back to you is you in your 20s, during a time when we were probably just supposed to be going to uni and like just graduating and, you know, coming out of uni or going through apprenticeships or maybe just going straight out to work, you took out a massive investment to invest in a business. And I think that's a debt to be quite proud of. Although I know it didn't work out and like you stopped it and you didn't pursue with the business and things like that. And I'm sure it didn't feel like a very proud debt when you had to handle it and you had to, but what a lesson to have learned in your 20s.
Yeah.
That clearly didn't put you off entrepreneurship, because here you are 10 years later, absolutely thriving, and you didn't let that debt stop you. Now, a lot of people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s have never even had that kind of debt, but they never tried. They never actually even tried something with their life, right? They lived maybe a steady Eddie life and will die one day thinking, well, what if I tried? And you tried, my friend.
Thank
You
you.
absolutely, that deserves a podcast round of applause, everyone. Thank you so much. I mean, I think that is one of the greatest reframes that you could probably, do you feel that? Or do you think, actually, Ros, no, you weren't in that situation, you absolutely don't get it?
Yeah, no, I actually resonate a lot with what you're saying. And the reason is, one is the lessons. So of course, whatever experiences you have, later you can reflect and go, okay, what that taught me was X, Y, Z. So one of the things it's really taught me is how to handle debt. So I can talk to other people who have debt and completely empathize and understand how alone you feel, how much shame, guilt, overwhelm there is, and how that makes you withdraw a lot in your financial life. And I've had that firsthand, and it's something that I will never forget, because it is such a lonely place. So I can understand how that feels, which is helpful for the client work I do, and really like understanding, because for me, I'm not talking to people from a place of above. I've been there. I get it. I totally get it. The other piece I found really interesting was just kind of thinking of like, if you have your zero balance in your bank account is your ground zero, any debt you have that kind of takes you below that zero, if you can come out of debt and come back to zero, then you can make money. You can then use that money and invest it. So what it actually taught me was the power of goal setting and how important it is to have clear targets. Because when you have debt, that's a super clear target. There's a deadline, it needs to be paid, and actually it does drive you to try and achieve it. So it's almost easier when you have a set deadline from someone else. You're like, I have to pay this. So it kind of gives you that energy. And if you can do that and get yourself out of debt, you can apply that same principle when you're making money and you want to put that to grow and have other avenues for income. So that's another kind of massive thing that it taught me. So I also know a lot of the feelings that came up around debt and even the reframe, like it's taken years to reframe it because of my upbringing. And my parents are both terrified, my mum in particular, terrified of debt. So for her, she was always like, debt's the devil. That's the last thing you want. You never want it. So there was a lot of shame I had that I was carrying around having it, of like, oh, disappointment that my family would feel that I would have this. And even that kind of separation between business debt and personal debt, they're two different things. So often I've felt like a bit of a failure, like, oh, I've got debt, like that just shows I can't manage money well. But actually it's like, well, is that true? No, actually, is this what was needed? Are these the means necessary in order, take that risk and you get the reward of it? So I'm not even saying that I wouldn't take those risks again. And I guess that has built that resilience of, if I needed to and I wanted to again, I know the process. So I've been there before. So I know what it would take if I did it again.
Oh my God, that is just phenomenal. Like, honestly, Leah, that is so inspiring and so humbling as well. Like, I think the fact that you've been through such a, like, in the plainest of words, and I don't want it to sound this way, but most people would say that failure, like that debt you had, you failed, right? And like I said, that would put them off. That would they would completely go the other way. Maybe they'll go and get a safe job and they'll try and pay off that debt, and they'll live with shame for the rest of their lives. And I just want to really acknowledge the just the true power and the abundance of energy and positivity that you have, that you were able to deal with that. Do you know what, Leah? I don't know if I'm as good as you. I don't know if I would be as strong. I think people, I mean, you have half my name. And I love that. I was like, oh, Leah, we have another Leah. But I don't think I'd be as good as you. I don't know, maybe in that position, fight or flight. I don't know what I would do, because I felt like I failed when, like, I didn't sell out an event, or I felt like I failed when, someone was meant to sign up and they didn't, or I set myself a certain goal or target for the month and I just hit, like, I just was shy of hitting it and I just felt like I failed. I've never had, like, unlike yourself, actually, because I didn't need that kind of capital to start a business. I started it with zero money. In fact, I don't know if you know, but anyone new listening, or for those people who have been following my journey, will know that I started my business with, borrowing my husband's laptop because I couldn't afford to buy my own. We went down to a one-car household because my company car had got taken away from me being made redundant. So now I had no car. So I shared my husband's. He was my boyfriend at the time. So yeah, at the time it was like, actually, I've lost all my, why'd you get your car? Because you want independence. Why'd you have a job and your own money? Because you have independence. Why'd you have your own phone and laptop? Because you have it. I lost everything that I had assigned independence to, and I felt very dependent in the end. But actually, this came as a shock to my friends, actually, who all assumed that I started my business and that my hubby or my boyfriend was covering me whilst I was building it. And I was like, no, I made money straight away. No, I had zero money. Don't be mistaken between me starting out with zero money versus me making money. I had no money to start, and no money to even pay for Canva, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Like, so you're total opposite to you. I didn't take out a loan to start all these things. Like, I designed my own logo on Canva. Like, when we talk about bootstrapping a business, like, I have the ugliest boots that you can think of, right? But I had to make money quickly. And so actually, my husband's, like, he's so cute. Like, the proudest story he ever says is, no, like, when people are like, yeah, but like, your husband support, was like, no, actually, sorry, I'm just going to intervene and just say that I have never, ever, ever covered a bill for Rosalia. She's always, like, since day one, we've been 50-50 in everything. And not that I'd be ashamed of getting help from my husband, because he's now my husband. Like, I wouldn't be ashamed of having someone help me, but I just think facts are facts, right? And your facts are, you took a massive leap of faith. You started a business, and yeah, that particular strategy didn't work, so you pivoted. So I love that. And so does your main business look like now? What do you actually do on a day-to-day basis? How do you generate money now? Like, you're not selling yoga mats, so what are you doing?
Yes, that's a good point. And yeah, it's dramatically changed. So it's not a physical product anymore. It's service-based. So I'm a money coach. So I mostly work one-to-one. I sometimes do group workshops online or in person, but the majority of my work is in one-to-one. So I've also pivoted a few times in the last few years into what I like. So I've run group programs. I've done in-person seminars, and the place my heart is one-to-one work. And I think it's because of the delicate nature of talking about money. There's that really personal piece of how honest and open would you be in a group of strangers versus someone one-on-one. So for me, I love to dive in really deep and get to the heart of what's happening. So a lot of it is mindset. So we're talking about, previous values that you've accumulated over the span of your life that maybe you've been taught or told or built from what society says. And I find this quite interesting. A client of mine recently, she came to me and she said, my goal is I want to be a millionaire. I want to be in like one of the top 1%. So that was her goal. And then as we started to break down the numbers, she went, I just realized I don't actually think that's my goal. That's what someone else has told me. My goal is actually, and this is where the word comfortable comes in and why I love that, because she said, my goal is actually to be able to live the lifestyle I want. And this is actually what I want to be able to afford. So when you put that in a budget, she was like, it's actually not as far away from what I'm making as I thought. So yeah, in a way, we're kind of deconstructing what is yours versus what someone else has told you. And from there, it's much easier to even start to plan what you then want to do to bring those things to life. So that's part of the work, is mindset. And then there's the very practical side as well, which I think is probably the most valuable piece. Although when I ask people, what do you come to me for? They often say it's the mindset, but it's like, what do I do? What are the steps? What do I actually where do I input the information? What do I need to do to make my money grow, to understand what investing is? So all of those kind of nuts and bolts, which is pieces of education, like you mentioned. The education system doesn't include kind of money 101. There's no kind of lessons or guidance, personal or business wise, unless you decide to go and do further study. So how do we get those basics in place and build a really strong foundation, and then kind of build on it and go from there? Some of the other problems that people come to me are really interesting. It's on the complete opposite scale. So they don't have worries about making money. They've made money, but they have overwhelm because they have no idea how to organize it, or how to think about it, or how to be equipped to scale for growth. So maybe they're on the VAT threshold and they're terrified to become VAT registered, because to them that's going to be a decrease in money. And maybe they've received inheritance and they don't know what to do with that pool of money. So it's really a span. And generally I kind of talk about finance in 5 different areas. So we're always exploring your relationship to your debt, to spending, to your saving, income, and investment. So the 5 pieces kind of all work interlinked together. So often there'll be 1 or 2 where you're like, yeah, I'm great with that, and others which may be challenging currently. And that can also change through your life as you go through different experiences.
Wow. So you really do take people on that kind of journey. This is what I'm talking about, that education that we don't get taught until we become adults. We spend all our adult lives, we spend all our adult lives after coming out of education and actually trying to live our life, pay the bills and live a lifestyle on our own. We spend our adult lives trying to either make money, save money, or learn how to earn it, or learn how to, and that we're trying to do this in such a condensed short space of time. Because when you're a child, you think you're going to live forever, and like time is endless. But actually, when you grow up, you realize, oh my gosh, I've just like spent most of my 20s in education. If you did go to higher education, you come out in your late 20s. I came out when I was like 21, 22, because I did a 4-year course. And that's without a master's or PhD. So you might actually end up being a fully fledged adult by the time you're 30. And by that point, depending on when you're going to retire, you've got a very short space of time to try and learn how to make money. If you think about it, it's absolute bonkers. I think we should start going out to work at 14. I'm joking.
Yeah.
But if only, I mean, I did work I have worked ever since I'm 14, right?
Yeah.
I have. I used to have a Saturday job, and, all my summer holidays were spent working, basically, like gaining as much work experience as possible. So yeah, we're not producing a nation of entrepreneurs. We're producing a nation of highly qualified, underpaid people.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what we are. I think that's what we're doing. So I literally could talk about this all day, because there is so much about money, mindset, the habits, the tactics. But let's get to the crunch of it. All right, you've got an audience of women listening to this, maybe some men as well, right? You've got different ages, different sectors, predominantly finance, mortgages, property, construction, those kind of sectors, okay? And a lot of people listening in these sectors are probably doing all right for themselves. Like they've got like either a really good job, or they've got a business. What are we missing? What's our blind spot that you think actually this is the trap that some high income earners get stuck in, or this is the trap that entrepreneurs miss? Like, how would you shake up our money mindset? And are we getting too comfortable in our mindset? And what could you do in the next, 3 minutes, 5 minutes? I'll give you as long as you like, but yeah, give us that, like, ladies, listen up. This is what you're missing.
Yes. Okay. I love that. So, and great to hear like who the target audience is. And to be clear, I've worked with women in property. I've worked with educators online, like influencers, people who are starting from scratch. They didn't even mean to have a business, and all of a sudden they're making money from it. There's a piece about passion, and I said it earlier, and I'll come back to it, because I think at the heart of everything we do, if you want to have consistency and drive, if you're passionate about what you do, it's so much easier too. So even if the nuts and bolts of what you do isn't something you're passionate about, if you can find a way to feel connected to your money in a way that you feel passionate about, that can be really useful. So I actually have a quiz called the Profit Persona Quiz, which helps you to identify your money personality. And that to me is always like a really good first step for me to understand who somebody is when they come to me, as to some of the motivators that you have around money. So if you don't enjoy talking about money, most of the time it's through lack of knowledge or understanding, because no one can say they don't like money when they have money coming in and everything's working and they understand it. But often the way I think of money is a relationship that you need to build. So with any relationship in your life, if you neglect it, if you ignore it, if you don't make time for it, you don't have dates, you don't learn how to communicate, you're not going to have a relationship that's good. And often that's the comment people say is, oh, I'm so bad with money, I have a bad relationship. So step number one is look at building your relationship with money. So have a date night with your money every month. Like, get into a zone. I was talking to a client about this recently. Like, set it up, like get yourself comfortable, have a candle, have some music, get yourself a drink, something you like, and make that like a ritual. It's something that's going to need to factor in your life if you want to make money from what you're doing. Otherwise, what you're doing is just a passion. It's just a hobby or a side project. It's not actually going to become an income source. So there's a piece there of like developing and building your relationship with money that's fundamental. And actually, it's not something you can skip over, no matter where you are or what aspect you are within your business, whether you're doing well or if you're just starting. The other piece is around really kind of coming to grips with what your numbers are and what your goals are. So if there was a quick first exercise I could say as a takeaway, is to do yourself a money roadmap. So build yourself a bit of a plan. You can call it a strategy. That's just a fancy way of saying a plan. But you want to zoom out and look at the bigger picture and see where it is that you're actually trying to head before delving into the detail. So rather than going into a client call where you're trying to make a sale and you're saying, I need to make this sale. Why do you need to make the sale? So if we're attaching it to your passion or your purpose, it's a lot easier to have the drive or understanding. So zoom out, look at that roadmap, and factor in 4 different types of goals. So we're not just talking about financial, we're talking about your personal goals. So what is it that you want to achieve on a personal level, as far as how much time off would you like to be able to have? So for me, I like to work 10 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So my quarters are great like that. I can work really hard for 10 weeks, 2 weeks off with no phone time if possible is perfect. So what kind of rhythm do you want? Do you want to work 3 days a week? Do you want to work 5 hours a day? Do you want to work a full-time week, but then you've got your weekends off? So figure out what that looks like. What other things in your personal life need to happen for you to feel that wellness, that happiness, contentment. So you're getting that good flow between your business and your personal life, because that's really hard, especially as an entrepreneur or a service-based or business owner in general, is where do you switch off? Like, where's that line? So your personal goals, then your business and finance goals. So setting targets is always going to be an easier way to actually achieve them. So when you come to your numbers, identify what your needs number is. So how much you need to cover all your costs. And then you can start looking into your wants number. So how much is it that you want to be making, which will be probably quite different to your needs. So then you've got those targets and you've got a way to start working towards them. So you can turn that into, this is how much I want to make. What does that look like monthly? What does that look like per client or per contract? So we're kind of getting from that big piece into those nitty gritty details. Any other business goals that you may have as well that will help drive forward. Then you want your recognition goals. So often we kind of forget about that need for outward validation being a positive thing. So sometimes we see it as, no, I shouldn't need anything from outside. But for me, it's actually really important to think about the recognition that's going to help you to move forward and grow. So are there publications that you could be produced in? Are there numbers of Instagram followers that are, or reach that is going to help you get your message out there? So think about things that would help to move you forward with those goals. And then the last type is impact. So what impact is it that you want to have? What kind of goals do you have here? So if you're a business owner, I would hazard a guess that you're not doing it because it's the way to make money as the only reason. Because if you wanted to just make money, there's probably other ways that you could just go out and get that regular source quickly. So there's generally a reason below as to why you've set yourself up as your own business. So connect in with your impact. What impact are you looking to make? Is it very personal, as far as like you want to prove something, or you want to be able to support your family? Or is this a bigger piece? You want to change your sector. You want to be like an expert or a leader in your field. So what's the impact behind what it is you're trying to do? So once you've got those 4 goals, the personal, business, recognition, and impact, you want to map that out and kind of look at a time frame that works for you, maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year. And then you can start working backwards to put all the pieces in place. So no matter where you're at, if you're a high earner, you've got lots of money, you're not worried about the nitty gritty of the monthly amounts that you have, but you're feeling a bit directionless or worried about what's next, that's what I would say in the 3 minutes. I hope that was about 3 minutes to get yourself.
Oh, I wasn't even counting anymore, because I was just like writing notes and really diving into like all that value that you have to bring. And you've got your first customer here. I'd love to be able to chat with you offline and talk things like, because I do have like a mindset coach and like someone who I check in with once a month. And but I don't think we talk about just money. I'd love to be able to. And I mean, I'm married to an accountant, and I have like these date nights that you're talking about, by the way. I absolutely have those.
Awesome.
With my, I would love to know, I need to do definitely more. Like, I think sometimes I'm such a sales and networker. I'm like such a salesperson and a networker that I'm out there creating, building, getting it in. And I'm not actually always tracking the numbers. And because I'm not doing it just for the money or the numbers, I'm doing it for, sometimes there was a time a while back, and you'll realize like just a transformation. But basically, there was a time back in the day, but because my husband was a bit more hands-on with our accounts and our bookkeeping and things like that, now we've got a bit bigger and he can't handle that as well as his full-time job. So I've got someone in, to do that. So I've outsourced it. But in the early days, he was the one that had my online banking app on his phone, my business card, and then we would go through the numbers. So that's how detached I was. And I didn't realize that I had detached myself from money. I was just so focused on doing the job that he came into the office one day. Like, when I say office, I mean like my shed in the back room, and he was like, "Babe, like, you're absolutely smashing it." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Babe, I'm really busy." I was like, "What's up?" I was like, "I'm like so busy right now." And he was like, "I know." He was like, "Because my phone's like da-ding, da-ding, da-ding." He was like, "I keep getting these money notifications from the bank to say like cash in, cash in, cash in." He was like, "Do you know how much you've billed this month?" Like, he then had to tell me, and it was the record month. I'd never hit that number ever before. And I was like, "What? Are you joking?" I was like, "I've actually hit that number." And he was like, "Yes." And he was like, "Do you want to take a break, or do you want to like come have a cup of tea?" I was like, "Oh my God, I've just been so in love with the process and like everyone I'm speaking to." And, I just forgot to add it up, because I just get to the end of the month and I'd be like, "Right, what were the numbers?" Okay. And never again did I make that mistake. Like, I now have the app on my phone. I know how much is coming in. I have a board on the board, like on a board on the wall that tells me like what's outstanding. I have a digital version as well of the CRM system. So now I'm like absolutely surrounded by numbers. And I'm got like everyone listening, men, female, whoever, however you identify, like, it is so crucial to know how much you've got going out, how much you've got coming in, what outstanding invoices you've got, how many proposals, like proposals versus outstanding invoices. Those numbers are magical. Like, I love those numbers, knowing that these invoices are definitely coming in because they've signed a contract, they're coming in. But proposals is where the opportunity is. So, and knowing how many proposals I've got out, then I then know how many people I need to chase, how many I need to follow up, so yeah, the numbers, that's what it's all about. And I'd love a discussion offline, Lia.
Yeah,
to see how you work. Because I would, I'd love to just basically talk money more. You see, like, I'd like to pay someone to make me talk about money. And I don't know how you are remunerated or things like that, but we can definitely discuss. But for everybody else who wants a piece of Lia and wants to talk money, honey, this is the right show for you. Like this, I hope that if you have discovered Lia for the first time ever, thanks to this show, then please let us know. Please give Lia a thumbs up on this episode. Send her a message. Send me a message if this is the kind of stuff that you want me to bring to you. If you found this helpful, we love that feedback. Let us know if you want more of this. Guests are always welcome to come back again on the show to go into a deep dive topic. And I would absolutely would love to see someone like Lia come back with more power, more energy, and more money mindset stuff. So, Lia, how can we find you on social media if people want to get a piece of this action?
Yeah, absolutely. Follow me on Instagram at Get Comfy with Money. it's a line you can't forget. If you're interested in taking the Profit Persona quiz, you can also find that on my link tree within Instagram. I don't know if you can add anything to this.
Yes,
episode.
on the show notes, there'll be everything. Yes, yeah.
Great. So I'll send the link for that as well. It's really cool to just find out what your type is. That's a good little insight and something to say. For me, money can be fun and money can be liberating. It doesn't have to all be doom and gloom and numbers on a spreadsheet. So everything I do is about trying to make it fun, because I get bored if I'm not having fun. So I try and make things approachable and have that play element as well to it. So if you feel like, this is too much, it's daunting, just play, just dabble.
I love that. Yeah, but guys, in the show notes, we'll include all of Lia's links so that you can reach out to her. Obviously, she gives out a lot of value on social media, but I think the real magic is diving into your own numbers. And so, whether it's a one-off consultation or a lifelong program, I'm sure Lia can take you on that journey. So thank you, everybody, again, for tuning back into the Money Honey podcast. You've been with me, Rosalia Lazara-Tilly, your host for the show, and Lia Loewenthal. Have I said that right?
Very close, Loewenthal, although Loewenthal is the German version, so you're all right.
Right, yeah, no, I did German at school, and I was actually quite good at that. So yeah, earlier when you came on the show, I was like trying to pronounce this on my own at home. But thank you again for tuning in with me, Rosalia and Lia, on this show. And remember to subscribe, because the more subscribers we have, the bigger we can grow this show. And the more we can keep running it, because it actually costs a lot of money for me to run the show. So I'm running it for free, as in guests can come on for free, so that I can give as much value as possible to you as the listener. And I want to keep it as that for as long as I possibly can, for eternity, because this is a show about learning and value and community. So the only thing I ask is that you just click subscribe. That is it. Like literally, that is all you need to do. And share it if you found this helpful and you want to share it with someone in particular that you think it might help. Then that is the power of positive pollination that you could give to someone today. So thank you again, Lia, for sharing the best version of you and the worst versions of like everything that you've been through. So thank you for that. And we'll catch everyone on the next show. Please stay tuned and come back for the next guest. Wow.